You're watching and listening to Conscious Evolution Media, shifting global consciousness at consciousevolutionmedia.com.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org. Are you in the entertainment industry? If you answered yes and you want to promote yourself, your passion, and profession, check out Creative Independent Artist magazines at CIAartists.com, endorsed by Kids Talk Foundation worldwide. You can hear shows from Real Coaching Radio TV network while on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher is a free news and available for your smartphones, smart TVs, and cars. And when you download Stitcher to hear shows from Real Coaching Radio TV network, you have a chance to win some money. Downloading is quick and easy. Just find Stitcher in the App Store. Download it. It's free and just takes a few seconds. Then, during registration, hit the promo code box and enter RCRN to get automatically entered to win $100. The latest episode of the shows will be waiting for you in your favorites. You'll get access to lots of other amazing shows too, always available to you on demand. No syncing. It's Stitcher Smart Radio. Don't forget to enter promo code RCRN when you register at www.stitcher.com/RCRN.
Hello and welcome again. My name is Laura Waitan. I'm the host of Your Money and Your Mindset. Hello everybody. Now, yes, you know, the purpose of my show is to bring to you inspirational people who have the nous, who have the knowledge, who have the experience to help you take your business to the next level. And we know, of course, a lot of it has to do with what goes on between your ears, how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself, and how you deal with situations which can, in sometimes can be to take the shortcuts. But at the end of the day, it doesn't serve you because these short-term gains can cause you long-term pain. And we don't want that. So what we're going to do now is talk about, in a sense, you being the leader and how you set the tone and what is it that you imbue, your values that come across to your employees and the people who work around you. Well, you will either inspire them or not. And so what we're going to do is inspire you. And so I've got this great guest on today, a very special lady who knows about what makes good leaders or great leaders tick. So it's Melanie Bragg, who's my special guest, and she is a lawyer, a speaker, an educator, and she's a champion advocate for the people who are defenseless. Because just before we got on the show, she'd been looking after over 150 people who needed her help as part of a job as an advocate. So she's currently the chair of the Book Publications Board of the American Bar Association. It's a small firm division. There are over 30,000 members, 40 authors that she is mentoring and shepherding. Fantastic. She's got a great record in leadership and community service, and did you know she became the first woman president of the Houston Young Lawyers Association and was a director of the ABA Young Lawyers Division. Now she's got a company called Legal Insight that has written, produced, distributed legal education programs for the healthcare industry and universities and medical schools. So her first ABA book was HIPAA for the general practitioner. Right, enough of that, but we're going to talk about Melanie's new book, which is really, really important, I think, at this time in the economic cycle where some people may be tempted, like I said, to take shortcuts. Don't, okay? And this book is called Defining Moments, Insights into the Lawyer's Soul. Are we all interested and excited to hear from Melanie? So welcome, Melanie Bragg. How are you?
I am so wonderful. Thank you, Leroy, for asking me to be on the show. I'm just so inspired and encouraged by what you're doing and all the work, your money and your mindset. What an important concept, and I just know that you offer so much value, so it's a big honor to me to be here today. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. I'm very excited about your book. Look, it's intriguing. The title is intriguing. Defining Moments, Insights into the Lawyer's Soul. Now, some smarty pants will say, lawyers have souls? So
well,
I know you're going to dispel that. Yeah, okay. Right, we'll talk about that too. But really, before we start, I've just given people an idea of, your professional background. But just tell us who Melanie Bragg really is.
Oh gosh, well, I'm still working on that. I'm figuring that out. I've actually, always wanted to be a social worker. I always wanted to help people. I love people. I'm a joiner. I've always been a joiner, and I really love being a spark plug, helping people get excited about things. I've just loved that. So I've gotten to be a part of what I consider the world's greatest profession, lawyers. Somebody said that the book Defining Moments, Insights into the Lawyer's Soul was kind of like that book, What Men Know About Women. You open it up and there's nothing on the pages because lawyers don't have souls, but they really do. I've been blessed to work with lawyers for almost 30 years, and we have done so many charity projects and, painting homes and getting food to children and just doing so many things. I just really wanted to write this book and talk to people about what are their defining moments, what things shape them. And it's really cool, the things that I'm discovering, all the people from different walks of life. There's really not one set formula as to how people get to where they are. And I've got a lot of very interesting conclusions from this book so far.
Okay, so your passion comes from helping people basically define or rather be able to articulate what they want to do. But besides that, in this book, I found it intriguing to read some of the stories you had in that book, that it doesn't matter what profession you're in, you're going to be faced with the same sort of temptations. Can I say that?
Yes.
And you have a choice in that moment to say, I'll go the easy way, as the easy way out, but not necessarily the most productive long term. And you've got some examples where people were in highly paid jobs that they could lose because they spoke the truth.
Right. Well, one of those is a good friend of mine. His name is John McKay. He was the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Washington State, and he was a White House fellow and just a great guy. And he was during that Homeland Security stage era, post-9/11 era, when all the U.S. attorneys were dealing with Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney. They had a meeting, a closed-door meeting one day, where they were talking about things like wiretaps and, going into people's possessions and properties, without the kind of warrants that our Constitution requires. And so John's sitting there and he thinks, well, heck, everybody's going to be jumping up and down and saying we can't do this. And he looked around the room and nobody said anything. And so he just sat there and he said, well, I have to say something. And he knew there was going to be ramifications to him. He knew that this might cost him something, but he had to say something. So he raised his hand and he said, hey, guys, we have this pesky little thing called the Constitution. And he said everybody just looked at him like, whatever. And he knew from that day that his days would probably be numbered. And sure enough, when they fired 9 of the U.S. attorneys in America, he was one of the ones that was let go, even though he had a spotless record. Of course, he has recovered from that. He's like a local hero there, and he also teaches law at Seattle Law School. So he hasn't skipped a beat. As a matter of fact, his whole thing now is on this Constitution. He teaches constitutional law. So he, who knows? He has a great future ahead of him, but he told the truth no matter what the cost. So anytime you find yourself in an ethical situation, you see that your boss is cutting corners, maybe not reporting something they need to report, you need to follow your gut and monitor that and do the right thing, because it isn't worth it to go down with your boss.
Yeah, that's pretty serious, because you're talking about an event that affects everybody and anybody in the United States, right?
Right.
If you say, yeah, we can just wiretap anything that we choose to based on our suspicions and with nothing to back it up. So this man has shown so much integrity that he was willing to put his neck on the line and his career on the line. But like you say, even though it was inconvenient at that time for him to he lost his job, but he's come back bigger and better.
Oh,
Do you have any more examples where
I've got
have stuck their knife?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. My girlfriend Barbara Maiden, she's wonderful. She's living in Nashville. She was a lawyer in the 70s when really women were not. There weren't that many women lawyers, and there were still a lot of male clubs. Believe it or not, when I was a law clerk, my boss used to take me to all these clubs that were men only, and everybody was drinking martinis during lunch. So some may say those were the good old days. But at any rate, in those clubs that she was going to in the 70s, a few years before me, they would make her stand outside before they would let her in. They would not let her in. And one time she was standing in the snow, another time she was standing in the rain, and she was getting so upset about it. So one day she finally, enough was enough. She said, forget this. She went ahead and went on in. She slapped her briefcase down at the head of the table, sat at the head of the table, and said, okay, boys, let's get this meeting started. And believe it or not, they all minded her. She's kind of bossy even today, but she learned that just having that voice, and her motto is, find your voice, because nobody's going to give it to you. Sometimes we sit around waiting for someone to tell us it's okay to take action. We wait until all the circumstances are right. But really and truly, if you've got that fire in your gut, you just go for it, and you take your seat at the head of the table, and you let people know who you are. Have the courage to stand up.
Wow, that's big in terms of when you're talking about the 70s, where it was still very conservative, and the law practice is basically has been male dominated. Yeah. So do you use those people like your role models as well, where you go, if I want it, I have to ask for it?
Do I what?
If I want it, I have to ask for it, basically.
Oh yeah. Yes, you have to stand up. And you know what, y'all? Here's the thing. Here's a little secret. Fake it till you make it. Just wing it. Get up there and go for it. Nobody has all the answers. Everybody else is faking it till they make it too. They just seem like they know what they're doing. So go ahead and just stand up and really just follow your gut, because your gut is going to tell you the truth.
Right. So in a case, let's say if I am a person who is interested in starting a business, and I have got an idea, what is it that you can say to me to help me make that idea a reality without doing all the mistakes along the way that normally people do?
Well, basically, you really have to sit down. I've got a 3-part effortless marketing, how to add to your practice, add to your life, with a 3-step ADD formula. And the first one is assess yourself. Okay, if you're afraid of heights, you're not going to want to be a parachute jumper. So you have to be realistic about things too. Then you decide what works for you. There's different modalities in this day and age. There's different ways that you can do the things that you know how to do the best, and then do it. Now, in the do it part, there is a lot of trial and error. You may have some rejection. You may zig and zag. That's kind of a concept that I'm really looking at, is how you zigzag sometimes towards your goal. But the key is, my defining moment lead line story is about never ever give up. I mean, just be a persistent person, even if you're not getting there like a straight line, even if it feels like a zigzag, even if it feels like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Don't give up on your dream, okay? And your dream doesn't have to be perfectly. I mean, if you don't have a good voice, you may not become an opera singer, Okay, but if you're not the best writer, that doesn't mean you can't be a prolific writer, because you can take lessons, you can do your homework, and you can practice, practice, practice. People who don't like being in front of people, they don't like being on camera, well, guess what? There's certain people that are natural at it, and they have natural abilities, but they still have to take broadcast lessons, they still have to get some coaching, and they still have to sit and read television interviews to a camera for 30 minutes a day. If you sit in front of a camera for 10, 15 minutes a day and read the news stories to the camera, within a few weeks, you're going to be a whole lot more comfortable in front of that camera, and you're going to be a whole lot better. Okay? So you can cultivate things that you don't know how to do, but it's always good to get coaches. It's good to get to read, to have lessons, and study those things. So you can cultivate things that you don't quite feel comfortable. So just because you're not a supernatural person at it, that doesn't mean you can't get there.
Wow, that's great advice, because look, I'm hearing a lady who basically has charted her path and said, right, this is the direction I'm going, and come hell or high water, and that's where I'm going. And it even, was obvious when you talked to me off air about your own defining moment, because I love this story, and I'd love for you to share it with people so that they understand, folks out there, viewers, that, like Melanie said, you got to fake it till you make it, but also have that fire in you to want to do it. So just tell us that story,
okay,
your defining moment.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this. Back in the 80s, I'm really aging myself here, y'all, so I'm sorry about that, but about 1987, I was a young lawyer, and I was kind of, rocking and rolling, going to some Christmas parties. It was a rainy, cold day. Judge calls me up and says, Melanie, I've just appointed you to be this man's temporary guardian. And I said, okay, I have to give up my parties. All right. He said, yeah, you've got to go over there. Adult Protective Services has determined that his nephew or his son, we're not sure how he's related, has taken his money. The lights are turned off at his house. There's probably no food. We don't know if he's in there. The son may have a gun. He may be on cocaine. We don't know. So it's a pretty dangerous situation. So I go down the courthouse, pick up my order, get in my car, and of course I had a cell phone back then because I like to stay on top of technology. So I called 911 because it was definitely on the wrong sides of the tracks. There was literally a railroad track right there. It was like, wow. Okay, so I called the cops. By the time I got there, there was an ambulance, fire truck, cops, a whole big crowd of people. And so they went and knocked on the door, and they came back to my car, and they said, I'm sorry, he's not there. And so in that moment, I could have just driven off and told the judge, well, I don't know. But the judge had made it clear that we had to find out whether Mr. Foreman was alive or dead and whether he was in that house. So I took my order, just this little piece of paper, and I really didn't know. This is where the fake it till you make it comes in. All I knew was I had the authority based on this order to get that house broken into. So I told that whole big group of men who were scary to me and older than me and more powerful than me, I looked at them and I said, let me just tell you something. This order right here gives me the authority to bust that door down, so I'm not leaving here until we get inside there and make sure he's not there. And they kind of looked at me like, are we going to fight her? Nah. They went ahead and busted the door down. And a few minutes later, I hear this voice, Miss Bragg, come in here. And they had the flashlights. And I looked inside. It was super dark. It was super cold. And there was this poor little man on the couch. He was completely deteriorated. He was covered in feces and urine. He was just screaming out, he stole my money, he stole my money. And I was like, Mr. Foreman, everything's going to be okay. They put him up on a stretcher, and they were putting him past me. And I put my hand down on his chest, my hand on his head right here, and I said, and he was just, really out of it, and he was very upset, very distressed. I put my hand right there on his heart, and I said, Mr. Foreman, my name is Melanie Bragg. I'm your guardian. I'm going to take care of you. And in that moment, I felt like this transference of energy into my heart, and I just said inside my head, I said, this is what I was born to do. This was what all those years of law school, all those years of college, all those waiting tables and all the sacrifices, this is what I was born to do. And so I've been blessed to have such a wonderful career and to help save people's lives like that.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I mean, you know, I hear the passion, but I also hear from there must have been another previous defining moment that said, I'm not going to allow the little people to be pushed around.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, would you say that earlier on in your life that you'd seen little people being bullied?
Oh, yes. Very much so. I for some reason, when I was in third grade, I spent a lot of time in the library with books, and I got a hold of the books that were these little books that were autobiographies of the First Ladies, Dolly Madison, Eleanor Roosevelt, Jane Addams, and I just really, something about those books I think must have inspired me to be a strong woman. But it was when my grandmother was very ill with mental illness, and she was in a mental state hospital for mental patients, and I just felt like there were some things wrong with that situation. And I remember at about 8 or 9 kind of making a vow, someday when I grow up, I'm going to change all this. So sure enough, I actually became an advocate for those segments of our culture that don't have a voice, which is the children and the elderly and the mentally incapacitated.
So I would say that is your pre-defining moment in the sense that, yeah. So it was born from there. So really, this is terrific stuff that people can take with them and use, even though this is not directly about making money. But at the end of the day, folks, it is, because I always believe that, you know, in any organization, the fish will rot from the head down, meaning whoever's at the top sets the tone, okay? And whether the tone is we'll play it fast and loose, or no, we will go by the book in a sense, pedantic maybe, but at the end of the day, you've covered your bases, and you know that they won't be those sort of slip-ups that you see in, let's say, what can we say about some of the banking situations where, you know, $1 billion are lost in transactions which involve people's money, not just the bank's money. So in this case, in terms of leadership qualities, you know, what is it that you consider to be must have for a great inspirational leader? Not just a good one or an averagey one, but somebody who's so inspirational to his or her people that they'll literally walk barefoot and broken glass for them. So what are those characteristics?
Well, you know, another one of my lead lines from the book is lift others as you climb. Okay, so if you are the kind of leader that always takes time to lift others as you climb, and your employees see that, and that you always take time for the little guy, you don't ever try to act like you're better than other people, and you do take time. That's what good leaders do. They lift others as you climb. You don't just try to race up that ladder of success yourself. You're stopping to lift others. Another one that I love is one hand extended makes a difference. So when you can extend a hand, a good idea is to do some public service activities with your company, maybe even have, get involved with Habitat for Humanity or whatever your local type things. And those are really bonding experiences among companies, because people do like to work for someone who has a portion, just like my publisher, not my publisher for this book, for my fiction book, is a percentage of my book sales goes to Habitat for Humanity, building homes. So do you think I like having that kind of publisher? Yes, because I gravitate towards people who are giving something back. So being a person who wants to make a profit and wants to run a good business, but also has time to think about other people, that goes very far in your leadership knowledge.
Okay, but just going back to the initial point about lifting people up as you go, tell me then, why is it that, because it's so obvious, why is it that most leaders don't do that? In fact, some of them I know would like, The Devil Wears Prada, would quite happily squash people rather than, in a sense, inspire them and lift them up with encouragement and positive words.
Well, didn't she at the end, though, kind of get it? I mean, did she turn around? Because sometimes it takes a little working with that to make it happen. But, I don't know. I probably see the glass. I probably have rose-colored glasses on to a certain extent, because when I experienced that kind of thing, I did have a case. It was a securities arbitration case, which when you were talking about the financial markets. I experienced some really, really bad people. Like, this guy lied to the arbitration panel, and he lied about me. He put a bunch of fake, false stuff in there and luckily for me, this is another point that we talked about off camera that I want to bring in. Luckily, the panel, the chair of the panel had known me for 30 years or 28 years at that point. So whenever someone made up a lie about me, they knew that it wasn't true, because they knew me. My reputation preceded me. So, and I basically, when I was walking through the halls of my office, instead of letting this person upset me, I just basically said, well, chapter 16, 17, and 18 of another book of mine. I was going to use this bad experience as a way to, illustrate points for other people down the road. Because you are going to be faced with that. You're going to be faced with people who don't treat you fairly. You're going to be faced with people who don't handle things ethically. But what they do has no bearing on what you do. You do what's right no matter what, and you will finish. It will work out. But the thing about your reputation, you got to look at your business as a marathon. It's a long haul. You may get a short-term gain, but it's not going to bode you well. You want to have a good reputation with your vendors. You always want to just tell the truth. If you're late on a bill, don't make up some story. Just call them up and say, listen, I'm having a hard time on collections. I need for you to cut. People gravitate to truthful people. And when you tell the truth, and tell the truth no matter what the cost, then people usually want to pitch in and help you. So it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of grief to look at your business as a long-term project. Also, just have your values and goals straight away, and don't worry about what the other people do. If the cheater seems like they're getting ahead faster than you, so what? Who cares about them? Just be focused on lifting others as you climb, and you'll go far, I think.
Well, that's great advice, which I think people presently would like to, have that tattooed on your forehead, because the thing is that a lot of people are saying, it's just in a cynical sense, that supposedly all that mess that's happening in the financial markets, which started in 2008, nothing has changed. In fact, they're going through, it's like a deja vu thing. It's the same thing. The credit is available, etc. And nobody's been held into account. So, but you're saying that at the end of the day, do not let the macroeconomics bother what is going on in your own private business, provided you are very clear on your values and you're very clear on your reason to be in business. Is that right?
Right, I think so. Yeah, I was suing AGSI, American General Securities, Inc., during that whole time that we were going through that. And you can rest assured, I was watching Fox Business News and reading all that stuff, and I was on top of it. I was going to get them, So, yeah, very, very interesting. And, of course, that will be book 3 of my fiction book series. So not exactly, but parts of it will be. And then I can channel all that anger towards that lawyer that lied about me into my main character. So it's good stuff. Just try to find a use for all those feelings and things, because you can get there. But another friend of mine who's such a wonderful inspiration also, his lead line is human connection is above all else the most important thing. And this is a guy who was extremely shy as a child. He stuttered really bad. He didn't even talk for years. And now, in addition to being a death penalty case lawyer, he is on HBO. He's an actor, and he is the actor that's on the Atticus Finch one-man play. So he's turned out to be a brilliant person on stage. and just focusing on human connection as being the most important thing of all. Your relationships. You want to have You want work to be fun. For me, going to court is kind of like going into high school. Remember high school? Hi, how you doing? What's up? So I look at going to court like going to high school, and sometimes I have to go against people, or they go against me. Poor thing.
Yeah, exactly right. And you're saying it's not necessary.
You can just be competent and prepared. Being prepared is above all else the greatest weapon that you have.
Right, and this is especially in business as well. So you're saying that if somebody anticipates, whether their inventory is going to be coming in sooner than later, whether they're going to be looking at staff turnover, etc., it all comes back to being prepared. And this wisdom is actually instilled in your book. We'll just hold it up. It's called Defining Moments. Right. That's your book that even as we speak is coming out of the printers. Now, just tell me a bit more, because I'm reading on the front page that, in fact, you've got a foreword by Jack Canfield. So how did you get together and do that?
Well, I've been following Jack for a long time. I saw him at the Maui Writers Conference in 2001, 2002. In 2003, I went to his best-selling authors program. Then I also went to his BTS. It's coming back this August, by the way, which was a wonderful, wonderful week of self-growth. And then I got into his Platinum Inner Circle group in 2010, which he has not done that in quite some time. But he agreed to mentor me on this book, and I asked him, I said, Jack, how can I get people to be vulnerable? Because, most lawyers are all, I told one lawyer, I said, hey, if this continues to sound like a CNN corporate soundbite, you're not going to be in the book. How do you get people to be vulnerable and talk about their mistakes or talk about the things in their life that might not be so important, so something they want to tell people. So you have to get people that are really secure and really able to talk about those things. And Jack said, Melanie, the way you get people to be vulnerable is to be vulnerable yourself. And just like another girlfriend of mine, Raquel Rodriguez, she's from Florida, and she was Jeb Bush's general counsel when he was governor for a couple of terms in Florida. She, as a young associate, she worked for a big firm, and she missed a deadline on a statute of limitations. And she felt horrible about it. She teaches this to law students, so this is not a private story. But, she kind of messed up. And she was so worried about her review. And the head partner stopped by her office and walked in the door, and he said, hey, what's wrong? She said, I'm kind of shaken up about this. He says, do you think you're the first lawyer who ever lost a client? So, folks, you're going to lose a big customer at some point. You're going to lose a vendor that you like. So, in the course of doing your business, you're going to have some setbacks. But it's how you grow from that, what you choose to do from that, whether you make it a positive experience for yourself, one that you can learn from and talk about and maybe even laugh at later on. But that's what Rocky, her defining moment lead line, as I call them, is you can come back from a mistake. That so often people get discouraged. They tie their whole ego and self-worth up into making that mistake, and they think that's where you're zigging and zagging. That might be part of your zag. Sometimes it does take a while to lick your wounds, but you've got to get back up there on the racetrack and keep going.
All right, so what I'm hearing you say is that, first of all, work on your own self-esteem so that you can absorb these negative events, so-called negative events. So that all those people you interviewed who agreed to be in your book, could you just sum them up by saying that these people have a good, strong sense of self-esteem and self-belief, and the fact that they know what they're doing and they know what they're on about, yes?
I think that's true. I mean, I've got people who were bullied. You look at them today, you would never know, bullied, as a child. I've got people who were so short that they could never get anybody to listen to them. I've got a guy who didn't even graduate from high school, hadn't even been to college, had to take the bar exam 4 times, and he's the son of a very famous lawyer. His motto is go against the odds to become a winner. He went against the odds in every way, but he still, with that persistence, he just kept it up. I've got health stories. I've got just all kinds of situations from all walks of life. And the gal that is transcribing them for me, she's not a lawyer. She's a former legal secretary. And I told Laura Y that this was a kind of a funny story about rejection and also persistence. I asked Ivy, I said, Ivy, will you transcribe these interviews for me? And because I didn't want to pay hundreds of dollars, $3.50 a page to transcribe them. And she said, no. And I said, Ivy, please, please. I begged her for 8 months, and she said, nope, 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 consistently. And so finally one day I walked in and I said, Ivy, please, I tried to bribe her with, gift cards and all kinds of stuff. You name it. I did everything I could. And finally, after 8 months, she said yes. And now that she's transcribing these interviews, she actually loves the stories, and she does think that John Q. Public, the lay people, will enjoy the stories because there's a part of humanity in each one of us with the stories, and I think we can all relate to that. I mean, there's so much about all of this. I mean, you don't look at me and think, oh, everything's been so easy for her. I've got challenges up one side and down the other each and every day. But I'm blessed because I get to do what I love, and I'm actually feeling like right now that I'm walking into my life's purpose. The mere fact that I get to talk to you today about this project that's so near and dear to my heart, this is a bingo, win-win for me. So I love it. I'm excited about it.
I'm excited too, because what you're saying is in fact, anybody from any walk of life can make their life a success. It doesn't have to be in a professional sense. It can be, in a personal sense too. Now, speaking of personal, what comes across for me when I hear you speak is that you know yourself very well, all right, and you accept yourself as you are. Now,
the good, the bad, the ugly.
The good, the bad, the ugly, and the fact that there is that self-realization. So do you think that with the improved self-realization or enhanced self-realization, people are going to succeed, as opposed to the somebody who says that everything out there is at fault for me not being where I want to be?
Oh, wow. Well, in Jack Canfield's book, Success Principles, the very first order of business is, number one, take 100% responsibility for your life. So when you think of yourself as an artist and a creator and a writer of your own script, we are writing our scripts right now. Now, some of us, like me, have to work extra hard at it. I listen to my meditation tape that's a customized for me, my vision statement of what I want, and even if I speak things that aren't as if they are, and I don't let those thoughts take over. You can't do it. Oh, what do you think you're doing? You don't. All those things that come into our head. No, I have to work at it. I keep myself. It doesn't just come easy, and I'm definitely never going to get some big head about it, because, oh boy, I don't want to get a big head about it. But I do take those steps. I keep a gratitude journal. I just feel grateful for little things, like you've got flushing water, you've got food on the table. Just always being completely aware of just all the blessings in life, the beautiful sunrise, sunset. Just keeping yourself, listening to positive music, staying away from negative people. You cannot afford to start your own business and be around anybody who's toxic. You just can't. And so you just kind of have to, bye-bye.
Okay, so the people with the trash talk, you just have to leave behind. Now, this book, Defining Moments, well, people out there, hi to all those viewers, that if you're interested in getting a copy of this, where can you send them to opt in and get the details how they can actually purchase this book?
Okay, it's going to be sold by the American Bar Association on the ABA web store, and I will have a link to it on my website, which is Melanie, MELANIE BRAGG.com. And when it becomes available, if you go to my website and click on, there's a little easy first name email, click on the little link. I'll know that you came from this radio show. If you want to send me a little message, you can. But I will make sure that I send you the link to the web store. And I also will send you a little sheet with the 7 success principles and the little story behind them for your reference.
Okay, so people can read that and actually start implementing and applying them. I mean, when you think about how do I implement connecting with people, it is easy, isn't it? It starts by saying things like hi to the person who serves you coffee and making eye contact.
Yeah. You know, a smile goes a long way, just a smile, a kind smile.
Yep, and so all these things you think might not be putting money into the bottom line of your business, but you never know. The person who serves you coffee might know somebody who is in a business that might need your services. Is that right?
Right. Oh, that is definitely right. You just never know. And like I told Laura earlier, you know, you don't ever want to burn any bridges. I mean, all of us can have tempers. All of us can have, you know, sometimes, you know, I'm not the most patient person in the world sometimes. I work on that, and I have to cultivate it. And so you have to just really, really be slow to anger and quick to forgive, and just be careful, because the person that may be waiting tables right now may be going up and getting an Oscar next week. You know what I mean? You may have a seat at the Oscars if you're nice, you know.
Yeah, exactly right. So treat everybody with respect is one of those things that comes across in your book. And again, they can get those I guess principles that they apply in their lives, which have been distilled from your book, Defining Moments: Insight into the Lawyer's Soul, when they opt in at your website, MelanieBragg.com. Is that right?
Yeah, and I just pulled my top 7, but there's going to be probably about 40 or 50 of them, and they all kind of, there's a lot of cool cases, there's a lot of cool historical, I've got a guy that's 84 years old right now that Eleanor Roosevelt campaigned for him in 1960. I've got a guy that he was the court-appointed counsel for the 9/11 terrorist, Moussaoui. I've got all kinds of just very interesting people from all walks of life, and I think you'll really fall in love with all of my good friends that are in this book.
Yeah, and not only fall in love, but think for ourselves that, hey, those qualities that they imbue can be something I can absorb and, again, grow from that. And it will impact on my business in a positive way, because businesses really consist of people.
Especially if you're in small business, if we're talking about, I don't think that we're talking about the regular corporate person with a corporate day job. I think we're talking, our audience here, the people we're talking about are people who are trying to carve their own path. They're starting their own business. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, and entrepreneurs
on their own?
And people who sort of will need some sort of, I guess, signpost and guidance. That this book is just wonderful in giving, but it tells it in a story form. I mean, we all love stories, so this is a great way, and it's a brilliant idea, by the way, Melanie, that you've got with this book to inspire people. Speaking of inspiring, now who inspired you other than Jack Canfield?
Oh, boy, I've had a lot of great, my bosses. I got to be a briefing attorney at the Court of Appeals, and my bosses that were mentoring me way back when. But actually, lately I kind of made in my fiction book, Crosstown Park, that's fixing to come out this summer. I'm not trying to plug it here, but I'm very excited about it. It's a fiction book about a young female lawyer who teams up with an elderly black preacher. Anyway, my mother, who was a writer also, who she encouraged me to follow my dream of writing no matter what. She encouraged me. My writing teacher, I was so blessed to meet Rita Gallagher, who is co-founder of the Romance Writers of America. It's the biggest romance writers group in America. She's now deceased. All three of these ladies are deceased. But she taught me how to write in novel structure and storytelling, even for nonfiction. And then Marge Caldwell, who was a wonderful woman. She was part of Dr. James Dobson's Focus on the Family. It's an international Christian group. She was a Christian mentor of mine, and also just a grand woman. And she also just inspired me to believe that I could do anything I want. So those three women are my angels, and I always try to be a mentor to women, and because I really feel like women need more women mentors, and that women sometimes get mentored by men more than they do women, and it's kind of a mystery in our culture. We don't really understand why this happens so much, but I try to stand up and help women every chance I get. So I'm just blessed to have these three wonderful angels, I call them now, looking over me, and I'm sure they're clapping.
Yep, they are, and they're, probably applauding you right now. And also the fact that you feel so strongly about women mentoring other women, that you've actually organized a program that you offer for people who may have an idea, but they haven't crystallized that idea, and it's still a bit fuzzy in your head, but have got a bit of fire in the belly and have an idea of, I don't want to be an employee for the rest of my life. I want to be an entrepreneur. So good on you, folks out there, if you're watching this. And they kind of look at Melanie and think, okay, she doesn't bite. She's actually very nice. She's somebody I can relate to and somebody I trust. So you do have that mentoring program. Can you just tell us a bit more? So folks out there, if you're interested, come by and give Melanie a good old look and a good old squiz and see if you're a match for Melanie. But just tell us in the time that we have left, what is it that you're going to help people with who turn up with a half fuzzy idea, but it's going to work?
Right. Well, there's a lot of people right now. There's about 76 million baby boomers in America, and I don't know what the stats are all over the world, but there's a lot of people who've worked at a job for a long time. Maybe they're about to retire. They want to do something different. A lot of people want to write books. I have been very involved in helping people get their book into an idea with my American Bar Association. It's the solo small firm and general practice division that I'm the book publications board chair for. So I've helped people, and I've noticed that a lot of people have this nebulous idea, but they don't actually have it concrete, and they don't have an action plan to get it done. And so I'm a certified success coach also, and it has been some of the most wonderful training that I've ever gotten because I can use it in my mediation. I do a lot of mediations. I've been a mediator for 22 years, so I'm a mediator and an arbitrator. I help people work things out, solve problems. So with this 5-hour coaching plan, I'm offering it at a very special rate. It's a 5-hour thing. You have an initial conference. You fill out a little questionnaire. We talk about it. I listen to what you say. Then I create a vision statement for you, which is a lot like what I said I listen to in the morning. It's your goals and your dreams and what you want to do crystallized so that you can listen to it in the morning while you're getting ready on the way to work, and so you can start training your subconscious mind to believe that this is possible. So you want to drown out those negative voices that tell you maybe you can't do it, the things that make you give up. So by having that vision statement real crystal clear and having that recorded, and I can teach you ways to really use it to jumpstart your process here. And then we follow that up with some action plan and getting some goals for you, and it's kind of a short program. It's just 5 hours, but you can get a lot of value out of it. And then we can decide whether to keep going in some private coaching or sessions or whatnot, but it's just a good way to kind of get some groundwork done and just see if what you have is palatable and workable and set you in the right direction towards achieving your goals and dreams.
Okay, so it's like a kickstart exercise, and that 5 hours will be, I think, the most life-changing 5 hours of your life, folks.
I call it define your dream, determine your destiny.
Oh, I love that. Define your dream, determine your destiny. Because you're right, if we don't define our dreams, we have no idea where we're going. We're directionless, which I think some people will be going, gee, sounds like me. If that's the case, folks, you watching out there, I suggest you get in touch with Melanie, and your website is melaniebragg.com, right? So that they can get in touch with you and contact you if they're interested in this as well. Because I see that at this point in time, folks, we need all the help we can get to our goals. And one of the things you said, which really resonates with me, is like, don't hang around people who are negative. Hang around people like Melanie, who will be very compassionate and supportive of you, but will probably kick your butt if you don't do what you're supposed to do,
Yeah,
which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Because it's about taking action.
Yeah, that's my motto. I say all we owe people is the 4 F's: firm, fair, friendly, and frank. So, you want to be firm, fair, and friendly and frank. And also my law clerk, who worked with me for 3 years, her name is Ashley Helene. I'm putting a plug in for her. She got out of law school, and she's just a can-do. She's a can-do person. Even if she doesn't know how to do it, she basically says can do, and she go figure it out, even if she had to call somebody to figure it out. I always tell people, I say, there's too many apostrophe T's on your language here. I don't really want to listen to the can't. I can't do this. I can't do that. I want to hear I can do it. Well, Ashley, I got her on the book publications board as a baby lawyer. She skipped all the other steps. She got straight on the publications board, and we needed a technology book for lawyers. I've been wanting one for a long time. Well, guess what? She has been winning PowerPoint contests since she was in 6th grade. So I put her together with our technology guru who's older, and put them together, and now their new book about technology for lawyers is fixing to come out. So at age 30, she's got her first book. She's on the book publications board, and I'm very proud of her. So I helped her get there, and it definitely helps me because I like having I like seeing myself with really competent, capable people that do have a can-do attitude. So just throw out the excuses, and if you want to get to work, I can help you get to work, but I'm going to be real too. I mean, I'm going to be nice and supportive and loving and all that, but I got to call a spade a spade. If there's something there that needs to get worked out. So some people aren't ready to go. They need to do some more interior work, before they go to it. But some people are ready to get cranking, and I can help you with that too.
Okay, so you're going to be helping the people who are ready to rock and roll, and this is basically I think your calling in life is to help people, giving them a hand up and inspiring them along the way. So that's a brilliant way of living a person's life. Speaking of which, when you do that, there's a lot of giving involved. So how do you replenish yourself? Do you have rituals that you go through every day to center yourself, to just keep clear and focused on your raison d'etre, why am I in this world?
Right. Well, that is very important because guess what? Especially women, have this thing. Sometimes we don't set boundaries, and especially being a lawyer, everybody's got some kind of legal problem. And I kind of went through, everybody, you go to a massage and they're rubbing their husband's estate into and I look at them and I say, please don't rub that into me. I don't want your problems rubbed into my back. But anyway, my first chapter that was published in 2005, it was in an ABA book, How to Capture and Keep Clients. It was the Effortless Marketing chapter. And in that chapter, I will also give that to you guys as a downloadable PDF, too, if anybody's interested in that chapter, because it sets out the formula. It also talks about, as a lawyer, I did all these guardianships for people. I was taking care of all these people, but I wasn't replenishing myself. I was giving, and I was giving, and I was giving, and nothing was coming back. And sometimes many of you know just the monetary remuneration is not enough either. It's not all about money. Your success is not just how much money you make, although that's a good barometer, but there's way more to it. And so I found myself very depleted, and that's when I made this long-term zigzaggy goal of just teaching and speaking and helping people. That's probably more up my alley than doing some of these other things that I've been doing for a long time. So that's why I'm changing my career. I love being a lawyer, but yet at the same time there's a lot of that does deplete me and doesn't fill me up as much as some of these other things that I'm working on now. So, just finding your bliss spot. What are you happiest doing? When I'm sitting at my computer writing, when I'm working on editing my novel, editing something, I can sit there for a couple of hours and all of a sudden I feel like I'm on drugs or something. I mean, I know it's the dopamine, there's some kind of hormones that are popping out of my brain, and I'm like, whoa, why do people take drugs? I mean, just doing what you love is a drug in and of itself. So doing more of what you love, like Jack Canfield says that too. He says, if it ain't fun, I'm not doing it. So I always say, I'm all about function with an emphasis on fun. Even dysfunctional people can be okay as long as it's fun. So anything with the word fundamentals, I like words that have the word fun in it. But so yeah, you want to have fun, and so you replenish yourself. But I also do the meditation. I even meditate when I'm on a trip. I've got the Tree of Life. I've got my own. If you can't take a nap, if you can't, go run or jog or work out, just pop in a meditation tape for 20 minutes and you can come back feeling whole. I think meditation is a great practice. My spiritual practice, I'm a Christian by faith, and so that is my mainstay for me is my Christianity, but I'm open to every religion, and I just really feel like that people who practice the spiritual practice is just a great way to find that deeper meaning and keep yourself filled up. But I'm going to probably go get a massage tonight. So I had a long weekend of work. So yeah, always get that massage. Always just love yourself. Yeah, I always say give yourself the gift of loving yourself, whether it's a hot bath, a facial, massage your own face, just be kind to yourself, because you're the one that's in charge of you. You're the master of your own fate. You're the creator of your life.
That is just phenomenal, and that's a wonderful way to end this interview, because you have given everybody out here a tremendous insight, not into only the book, but the reason for writing the book. And in that sense, you've opened your soul. Thank you very much, and being so honest. And it's a beautiful soul because of what you say and what you actually practice in terms of not just preaching, but practicing what you say you do. So folks out there, if you're interested in the book, it's called Defining Moments, Insight into the Lawyer's Soul. You can get it from Melanie's website. And also, if you want some mentoring from her, which I think most people will need at this time, go and see it. Do yourself a favor. And last but not least, can I just say thank you very much on behalf of your money and your mindset for this hour you spent with us. You've been very generous with your time, with your knowledge, and with your love and your compassion. So, Melanie Bragg, God bless. Thank you.
Laura, you're the best. Thank you so much. What an honor it is to be with you.
Great.
Today's podcast is brought to you by ObesityHotline.com, the silent killer, providing support and encouragement in the prevention of this rising epidemic. Featuring the Body by Vi Challenge. Is there a quick answer to the question? Go to www.ObesityHotline.com. You're watching and listening to Conscious Evolution Media, shifting global consciousness at ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com.